Hi, I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio, and welcome to a special edition of the DeFabio Difference. Today we're going to have a special guest, a real Renaissance man of the new millennium, a man who is trained as a trial attorney, but he's also known as the funniest lawyer in New Jersey. He's also a statesman, an assemblyman in District 21, and he's also an erudite New Jersey local, born and bred, who understands communication at the simplest level. And there's only one person that can fit that bill, and that's Assemblyman Jon Bramnick. John, thanks for coming out today. It's a real pleasure to have you join us.
Doctor, it's good to be here, and I appreciate your time.
We appreciate your time. We know you're such a busy man with all of that, a thriving legal practice, an assemblyman, a statesman, and an author. I forgot to mention an author of Why People Don't Like You, which gives some very interesting tips on how to relate to people, which basically all of those jobs you have are in the relationship business, aren't they?
True. So as a trial lawyer, you try to convince people to come to your side. As a comedian, you try to make people laugh. And as a politician, you want people to like you. So when I'm interacting with people, I'm constantly listening to them and trying to determine how to affect their judgment, because you really want to win people over in all three roles that I have.
That's interesting how they all blend together. So let's take it from the top down. A trial attorney, you seem to do a lot of work with insurance companies, and actually you're more for the people than you are for the insurance company.
Most of mine's against insurance companies.
Yeah, so how do you feel about that situation, representing the individual versus the mammoth corporation?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be comfortable representing insurance companies. I represent people who've been injured, whether on the job or in an accident, as well as we do criminal work as well and immigration work. So I call myself a street lawyer. We don't really represent corporations, we represent people. And, I would be very uncomfortable on the other side, because we make the determination on how to proceed, not the company. And I'm not sure I'm great with authority. So if I was told by an insurance company, this is what you'd have to do, that'd be difficult for me. At least in my business with individuals, if we disagree, I don't really have to represent them anymore, because we have thousands of clients. So if we don't see eye to eye, we just wouldn't represent them.
Yeah, I understand that about the insurance companies, because I have a real bug in my bonnet when they start to put down regulations on how I'm supposed to treat a patient. And I kind of don't understand that when my degree is to make that clinical decision.
Well, because it's about money.
Yeah.
And consequently, you're trained. The person who's the adjuster, the person deciding your claim, is probably not a trained physician. And that bothers me. Yeah. So, it's a fight that I'm happy to take on. I'm not saying all insurance companies are bad. All I'm saying is that you have to push back, and you have to represent your client or represent your physician to make sure that the experts make the decision, not the insurance companies.
And I agree with you that I think the system is designed to work if everybody plays by the rules. And it seems that sometimes the insurance companies, maybe people on the other side, don't play by the rules.
All due respect to insurance companies, they're profit-oriented.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I'm not saying physicians aren't, but the bottom line is you are answerable to that patient.
Yeah.
An insurance company is answerable to a stockholder.
Yeah.
And me, I'm going with the patient.
I'm going to ask you one more question, and we're going to change subjects, but I'm going to throw Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield under the bus, because they are not withholding to stockholders, are they?
Well, the answer is no, but they still have to look at the dollar for a lot of reasons. And I'm not going to get too into that on this show, but I will still represent you over Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield any day, because I'm going to listen to what you have to say with the patient versus what someone in an office building has to say about your treatment.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Not that complicated.
I
take sides when it comes to that.
I like that, not being complicated, because it is. It can be very simple when you put everything out in front of you like that. I agree. So let's change subjects a little bit. Let's make us like you. Well, what was your most recent comedian performance? Was just about a month ago, wasn't it? I heard
Well,
it
I
came out
wish it
pretty
was.
well.
I wish it was, but if you recall, in the last 3 months, everything's been shut
That's
down.
right. But what did you have lined up? You had something lined up.
So we were supposed to be at the New Jersey PAC.
Okay.
We were supposed to be at the Count Basie Theater, myself and Mike Marino.
That was the one I was thinking of, yeah.
A number of shows, all canceled, of course. And I have to tell you, it's okay for me because, look, it's a sideline for me.
Yeah.
But for comedians, it's been devastating.
Sure.
Now, look, if you're a very successful comedian, has a lot of money, I get it. But for that individual who worked 5 nights a week, making very little money, and their entire endorphins came from an audience, and now they're sitting alone. Some of these fellas or women are single, they're sitting alone, they used to be out every night entertaining. It's been difficult, and I speak to them.
So beyond that, how do you think this 12 weeks now of lockdown has been impacting society in general?
Well, first, from an economic standpoint, we're going to be in Trenton, or should I say virtually in Trenton on Thursday.
Okay.
It looks like our budget deficit on a $40 billion spending plan is down $10 billion.
Wow.
That's the prediction of the governor, meaning that a 25% loss in terms of revenue, and that's really a prediction over through the past next year. You know, this is a very, very devastating hit to a budget, and we're trying to figure out how to proceed. Of course, my idea is to make sure we do our reforms first, do our cuts first, and then we talk about where we get the revenue, whether it's from borrowing money, et cetera. And I think to some degree, the other side of the aisle here, and I'm not going to make this partisan, they want to borrow first and then talk about cuts. But my concern is they're going to add a property tax surcharge to your property tax bill. Nothing could be worse in Trenton.
Yeah, we're already getting slammed with our property taxes.
So
yeah.
Economically, disaster. Emotionally, for many people, very difficult.
Yeah.
You think about this. And look, you're the doctor, so you know. Being out in society, being at your job, social interaction, critical, critical. And the loss of that, I think, has been devastating to many people. Now, older people like me, we grew up doing nothing. If you think about it, right? There were only 3 channels on the TV, right? You walked around your neighborhood, right? No Netflix, no computers. So basically, you had nothing to do.
Yeah.
So now, during this period of time,
card games was normal.
Exactly. Now you walk around your neighborhood like I do. I feel like 10 years old again when you're looking for something to do. And I see people out in their yard. The nice thing about it, I walk around the neighborhood and I see everybody outside in their yard. That's pretty cool. Obviously, it doesn't make up for the loss economically, socially, psychologically, that's hurting people.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the one thing I have noticed in my neighborhood, families are walking together.
Yep.
Brothers and sisters are out doing stuff together. Dad is with mom and dad, walking the dog. So that is a plus, I would say. Now, if we can maintain those family values and connections, that would be great.
You know, people, when we were growing up, they didn't go out for dinner a lot.
Yeah.
Like maybe we went out for pizza, right? Now that's part of everyday life.
Yeah.
So that wasn't happening during the last 3 months. So for people who weren't used to something like that, I suspect it was difficult.
Yeah, no, I think so. We're seeing a lot of that. Emotional fallout is having physical manifestations as well, people's health, definitely.
Yeah, stress, I always thought, and you're the expert, I always thought stress lowers that immune system. Anytime I was on trial for a long period of time, it was very stressful, I'd get something.
Yeah, it wears you down because then you also don't sleep, and that impacts it as well. Sleep's a huge player with that. Now, we know people aren't sleeping when they go to your shows, so when they're in court with you, they're keeping them awake. So
we would hope so.
They're not sleeping either.
I did try a case once, and during my adversary's summation, one of the jurors actually fell asleep. So he said, hold everything. Wait a minute. Juror number 4, you're sleeping. And the judge went over and woke him up.
Oh, that's a good story. That's a good story. So, you had mentioned a little bit about crossing the aisle. You're known for that in Trenton, to be one of those guys that wants to bridge that gap. How's it been going?
Well, I'm deeply concerned that people are now so partisan that they can't talk to each other.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you would get along in a family or in a business if you had everyone who agreed with you. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You tell me, the conservative father and the liberal daughter, right? Or in business, your partner views things, put it Clinton versus Trump. The thing is, I respect other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Today, people, and I don't think it's most people. I think 70% of people are in the middle. That's what Governor Kane used to say. But I think the other I'll call them wing nuts, are so mad that they suck all the air out of the room. And that's dangerous to the society.
Yeah. Now, is that something beyond the political arena? Are you seeing that in the courtroom as well?
Less likely in the courtroom because the judge is in charge. So
Got
you
it.
basically have a dictator in the courtroom. But in society, what I'm seeing is the media doesn't want a story unless it has us versus them in it. It has to be controversial. So what happens is people watch their app or they watch their news. So somebody said, I only watch Fox. Somebody else says, I only watch MSNBC.
Yeah.
Well, both sides of the aisle, to be honest with you, if you're only watching what you want to hear, and that's what they do, they tell you what you want to hear. And they never say anything good about the other side. That is dangerous to society.
Yeah. That's pervasive all media, though, I would say.
Yeah, because all media now has their audience. And I spoke to one radio commentator who I know is not as conservative as that he acts like. I said, well, don't you ever agree with like the Democrats? He goes, well, if I do, I'll lose 30% of my audience. What he basically told me is, I must stay in my lane. If I leave my lane, that's like somebody who says to me, I'm conservative on everything. I like this, or I'm liberal. Look, first of all, every issue stands on its own merits. You walk around and you're only in one lane, then I don't think you're a thinker.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very well put statement. That is really.
Well, I'm concerned.
insightful.
I'm concerned because it turns into hate, and that's what they go.
A lot of anger out there, isn't there?
And I'm telling you, part of it is media driven, because I used to go on all the shows, and the person who put me on all the shows says, I can't get you any more shows anymore. Why not? Well, they want you to either be on the right or the left. You can't compromise, be in the middle. Nobody wants you. So they stopped calling me. For a while, I went on MSNBC. I've been on CNN, Fox. No good. Nobody wants me. Why? Because I'm too in the middle.
You don't polarize.
Well, I don't have all the answers. Everybody now, these people, they come to you. This is it. Yeah. That's how you live your life? That's how you live your life? You have the ultimate answer. And they're, not only do they have the ultimate answer, but they're mad about it.
Yeah. That's one thing my father used to say. He'd have on the pundits. He says, who is this guy from Spokane, Washington, that's going to tell me what's really going on in Wall Street or the Middle East or some think tank guy? And that's exactly what you're saying. They come out and say, this is it, and there's no other option.
In the book I wrote, I have this one rule. It's called the David Shane rule. David Shane is from Indianapolis, Indiana, nicest person in the world. I'm writing the book. I called David. I say, David, can you tell me why everybody loves you? Everyone says, I love David Shane, this great lawyer. He goes, his answer is, I just listen. I guarantee if you want to be successful, you don't have to speak. I once lost my voice. I went to an event, laryngitis, never said a word. People go, the guy who brought me to this event goes, people say, oh, they really liked you. Of course they like me. I didn't say anything.
And on that note, we're going to take a break so our viewers can ponder that and listen to us on what we're going to say on the next segment with Assemblyman Jon Bramnick. John, great stuff.
Thanks.
We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. It's time for your health tip. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. Let's go over 4 simple things that you can do to stay healthy when you may be spending more time at home during the lockdown or the quarantine that a lot of people are going through right now. Number 1 is get some exercise. Walk. Get some fresh air, get outside, get on your bike, do some calisthenics at home. you gotta get some exercise, get the blood circulating. Because if you're spending a lot of time on the computer, that creates neurofatigue. Fatigues your brain, wears you down, so get some exercise in. Number two, if you are spending a lot of time on the computer, let's get rid of the laptop. If you're working from home on your laptop, you're like this, not a good choice. Get a full-size monitor, get a full-size keyboard, get a mouse, so you can be up here when you're working. Very, very important. So call your IT people at work and invest in a full-size monitor. Number three, eat healthy foods. Don't bring the snack foods in the house. Don't bring the junk food in the house. You want to go have it? Go out and get it. Keep healthy food in the house. Vegetables, fresh fruit, lean meat, healthy food choices. Don't bring the chips and the pretzels and the junk in the house. And number four, stay away from the media. Stay away from the fear-based information sources and go to positive information sources. Start thinking about what's good out there. Pray, meditate. The glass is half full. Focus in on healthy thoughts, happy thoughts, and those are four simple things that you can do to improve your immunity, stay well, and have a great time when you may be working at home. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to the show. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio with Assemblyman Jon Bramnick. And John, we were just talking about something which I happen to be flipping through the book on why people don't like you, which you tell me is pretty easy to avoid these things. And Rule 58.
Just think about the other person. That's all you got to do.
Isn't that important? Think about the other person.
That's it.
I'm with you on that. All right? All right.
Somebody comes to your office, right, and they're telling you they're nervous. They haven't been to a doctor's office like yours before. They're saying that to you. That's really on their mind.
Yeah, the antenna's got to go up.
That's the number one issue. So that's what you need to address. Yeah. You can't go, oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing. No. They're worried about it.
Exactly.
So you have to accommodate them.
Yeah, no, well said, well said. So never, ever be late unless you were run over by a truck. How come, Mr. Bramnick?
Well,
how come?
We decide to go to lunch, right? And we're going to meet at 12 o'clock. I get there at 10 of 12. Why? Because I made sure to leave extra early. I get there. I'm at the table. Now it's 8 minutes after. And you come running in. Oh, so sorry I hit traffic. You're in New Jersey, okay? That is probably an issue you should have thought about. So to me, I'm thinking to myself, would you be late if, well, it depends on whether you like the president, one of the prior presidents. You were, let's assume you loved Ronald Reagan, he invited to the White House. Would you be late? So to me, being late is so disrespectful to people that I'm physically ill. A couple of times where I've made a mistake as to timing, and I call them, I'm so sorry. I'll physically become ill because I'm so concerned that I disrespected you.
Yeah, and it's personal pride over again.
How about your patience? Yeah. I mean, I assume you put up with it, but if someone is chronically late, and now the next person has to be delayed. I mean, like, are you not thinking about the other person?
Yeah, we just had that conversation at our staff meeting yesterday, so yeah, we get it. But so let's go back to all of your many hats, which all fit together about relationships and about listening and seeing what's best for the other. And Trenton, you've been Assemblyman for how long? You've been Assemblyman?
Since 2003.
All right, so you have 17 years under your belt. Mm-hmm. What's happening down in Trenton? What's going on? What can you tell us about things for the people?
Well, I think we always start with the affordability issue, which I think is a disaster in New Jersey.
Yes.
People I know, especially in my age group, are leaving, going to Florida, sometimes even Pennsylvania.
I'm scared.
Sometimes South Carolina. So the minute you start to lose your residents, people, especially high-income earners, you have to be concerned. That's number one. If it's economically feasible to live here, then all of the other issues are not as hard. So I think first we have to get spending under control. And now with this COVID-19 health crisis, it's going to be more difficult. So I think that's the biggest challenge we have right now. Everything else, we can work on. I think we can work on together. But spending is the main issue because people can't afford to live here.
Now, I love that because I agree with you. I never thought I'd have to start thinking about leaving out of my house 35 years ago when I moved in. I just thought I'd live there and stay there and retire there. But now it is a concern. But working at this together, you had mentioned the polarization. Are you seeing that in Trenton? Is it not just national?
It's less polarized in Trenton because we are physically in the chamber together.
Okay.
We're on committees together. Interesting, in Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, you vote by credit card. They actually don't meet as a unit. They meet in committees, right? But then the vote, they just go in and swipe their card and vote. So they're not there together in a debate.
You're not seeing them.
It's like being on the phone. You and I can have an argument, right? But face to face, a little harder.
Yeah.
So New Jersey, actually, we all get along pretty well. Democrats and Republicans in Trenton, I would say personally, we get along. We just did a Zoom the other night.
Okay.
About 5 or 6 Democrats, the speaker, myself, and 5 or 6 Republicans. We had a great time, and that's important because you can't get anything done unless you trust each other. So if you had a partner, I don't know if you do, I don't know if the DeFabia medical practice.
We have a whole team.
But if you have a partner and you trust that partner, it's a lot easier to get something done. And we do have a certain amount of trust personally down there. Myself and the speaker have a great relationship. I may disagree with him, but it's not personal.
Well, but that's okay to disagree, and it's okay to agree to disagree, but it's the dialogue. Is there a dialogue happening where you can discuss things?
It's pretty good, actually. We can, but remember, Republicans are outnumbered in New Jersey. So, we're outnumbered significantly in both houses, and the governor now, of course, is a Democrat. So we could discuss things, but in essence, they've got the votes.
Yeah.
So without the votes, the discussion doesn't mean much.
Mm-hmm. Is it still pretty party line?
Yes,
People
no question about it. I mean, most things are voted. Most issues are bipartisan, but when it comes down to a controversial issue, mostly party line.
Yeah, interesting. So you're from Plainfield, born and bred.
Yep.
You were in New Jersey with the riots back in the 60s.
I was.
Now we happen to have another riot situation that just happened these last few days. Are there parallels, do you see, between then and now, or any insights that you'd like to draw from that?
So I was in Plainfield High School in 1969 when it blew up in the riots. So I was actually physically in the middle of the disturbances. Number one, and I think we need some help with the media here, that most people are good people. What I think about Martin Luther King, how he stood there without being violent, and this is like Mandela as well, and they became heroes because they were able to stand there and say, this is important to us, but I'm not going to loot, I'm not going to hurt people, I'm going to stand up for what I think is right. And look at history. People who do that change the world. People loot a store. The problem with looting a store is the image is shown on TV, and now you lose some credibility as opposed to the true leaders who were civil rights leaders over the years. So I implore people, be the kind of leader that Mandela was in South Africa, the way Martin Luther King was in the 60s. That's what people will respect, and they'll get behind you. Yeah. The minute you start stealing stuff from a discount store, you don't look like a leader to me. And there was good reason to protest, but there's never good reason. My father had a small business.
Yeah.
They work 7 days a week. You're gonna take their stuff? This is just another working guy. That's tough to watch.
Yeah, that is tough to watch, and it does, appealing to that higher, nobler motive,
It gives me the chills just thinking about the speeches, the leadership of Mandela in jail all those years. And those people go down in history as almost saints.
Well, they are, because they're looking at the others, they're treating everybody equally, with love, with affection, with thoughtfulness of what can we do, and as opposed to what's in it for me and what stuff can I get, and promoting a negative agenda versus a positive agenda. So that's a whole philosophical show. How's your theological background?
Yeah, you know, to me, I never allow religion to get involved in politics, if you know what I mean. I deeply believe that the secular and the religious should be completely separated.
Well, but the concept, I'm just saying, of just God and higher being and things like that,
He-
because that's where we're kind of leaning into that good, evil concept, because one bounces off the other.
I believe that when you treat people with respect, you help others out, and you defend people who are being bullied. I think that's really our job here on earth, okay? And whatever religion you have, the key is to treat people with respect, dignity, help others, be charitable.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. The
Those are common
rituals, to me,
values.
my concern is sometimes the rituals get in the way of the service. In other words, if you want to help others, I don't really care what garb you're wearing. What I care about is you're helping somebody else. And I'm sure that that's probably the way God looks at it too.
Yeah,
He's
well-
not looking at what you're wearing, he's looking at what you're doing.
Thank you. It's about deeds outweigh everything else. No, I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. So the next couple of months, next 6 to 12 months, what do you envision in New Jersey? What kind of changes would you like to see? Where's your magic wand?
Well, you know, normally 3 months ago, I would have felt very differently than I feel now. I hope we get back to normalcy, 1. 2, we hope we don't see a resurgence of the virus. So what I'm hoping for is we get back to normal. That's interesting. Probably a year ago, who would have thought about that? But right now, I will settle for normalcy.
Yeah.
In terms of positive change, I'll settle for just a resumption of wellness, you know, in the country. Because without that, everything else is almost not important at all.
Yeah, yeah. So the change to normalcy hopefully will happen soon. Opening up the small mom and pop shops, I think, is very important with the amount of personal distancing. That's a term we like to use. You know, we have your personal distance is 6 feet. We get it.
I'm a big fan of that, actually.
And
you
which
know,
is-
you go to events all the time. You're not sure whether to hug the person or not. This has kind of relieved a lot of pressure.
So guess what? If you see Assemblyman Bramnick anywhere,
Don't hug me for at least a year.
There you
no
go.
hugging. I feel like the Larry David show or Seinfeld. No hugging. I'm perfectly good with a nice wave.
There you go.
But I think the key to the future is really getting back to normalcy. And my concern is, I think people do understand it now. They didn't March 1. They get it now.
yeah, they get it. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out and touch base?
I'm the easiest person. So my office is in Westfield. We have an office in Summit as well. asmbramnick@njledge.org.
Okay.
Right. Actually, if you can call my law office because people do all the time. If you Google me, every one of my phone numbers is available. I'm never afraid even to give people cell phones because if you're crazy, right, I just turn you over to state police. But most people aren't. Occasionally, I get a few death threats here and there.
Yeah, I just block the contact, but I don't get death threats.
I've got some over the years, but they always say if they're going to say they're going to kill you, they probably won't kill you. It's the people who don't give you any heads up.
Those are the ones you got to be careful
Yeah,
with.
exactly.
Well, I did give you some heads up. You got right back to me. I appreciate it. And you came here on time. Assemblyman Bramnick, a real Renaissance man of the new millennium, somebody that's going to, I think, bring New Jersey to the 2020s in a very strong, viable, and manner that we listen and cooperate and treat each other with respect. I get that, John.
And just remember, the doctor makes a difference. That's what everybody has to remember. The difference is this doctor. No, really.
I'll give you that $5 later, John.
That's good, man.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Doc.
We
I
appreciate your coming out today. You know where to find him. And I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.